Live from New York, you're watching News Always On. I'm Kessyl. The U.S. Embassy in Beijing, with a state-of-the-art of technology and a heavy security presence, is one of the most secure in the world. But today, a man set off a homemade explosive just outside the compound. In a statement, the embassy says other than the person who set off the bomb, nobody else was hurt. The man is identified by his surname, Zhang, 26 this year, from Inner Mongolia. There's no information at this stage on what Zhang's motivation might have been, and the case is still under investigation. After the initial reports, news of the incident was very quickly censored on Chinese social media. Within hours, almost all mention of the explosion had been wiped clean from WeChat and Weibo, leaving only the official police statements. Spokesperson of China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Geng Shuang, said, quote, "Thursday's explosion is an isolated public security incident, and the Chinese police have handled it timely and properly." The US and EU have agreed to avoid an all-out trade war and work to lower tariffs. With European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker by his side, Trump said, quote, "This was a very big day for free and fair trade," calling the breakthrough a new phase in trade relations. Trump's threat to impose tariffs on European cars was put aside. However, US import tariffs of 25% on steel and 10% on aluminium that's imposed in March will still remain in place. Here is more.
We agreed today, first of all, to work together towards zero tariffs, zero non-tariff barriers, and zero subsidies on non-auto industrial goods. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We will also work to reduce barriers and increase trade in services, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, medical products, as well as soybeans. Soybeans is a big deal. And the European Union is going to start almost immediately to buy a lot of soybeans. They're a tremendous market. Buy a lot of soybeans from our farmers. We're going to make it much easier for them, but they're going to be a massive buyer of LNG, so they'll be able to diversify their energy supply. We agreed to a strengthening of our strategic cooperation with respect to energy. The European Union wants to import more liquefied natural gas, LNG, from the United States, and they're going to be a very, very big buyer. We're going to make it much easier for them, but they're going to be a massive buyer of LNG, so they'll be able to diversify their energy supply, which they want very much to do, and we have plenty of it. Jean-Claude, please.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, when I was invited by the President to the White House, I had one intention. I had the intention to make a deal today, and we made a deal. We have identified a number of areas on which to work together. Work towards zero tariffs on industrial goods. That was my main intention, to propose to come down to zero tariffs on industrial goods. We've decided to strengthen our cooperation on energy. The EU will build more terminals to import liquefied natural gas from the US. This is also a message for others. We agreed to establish a dialogue on standards. As far as agriculture is concerned, the European Union can import more soybeans from the US, and it will be done. And we also agreed to work together on the reform of the WTA. This, of course, is on the understanding that as long as we are negotiating, unless one party would stop the negotiations, we will hold off further tariffs, and we reassess existing tariffs on steel and aluminium. This was a good, constructive meeting. Thank you, Donald.
Well, thank you very much, Jean-Claude. And I just want to conclude by saying this was a very big day for free and fair trade. Very big day indeed. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
We were disappointed at the US government's decision to unilaterally impose tariff measures on steel and aluminium on the basis of a national security. The idea that imports of steel or aluminium from your closest ally could threaten the national security of this country, and this goes against all logic and against all history. We cannot simply accept this, and we changed it today because we agreed, the President and myself, to reassess this measure in due time. As I've said many times, trade wars have no winners. They only leave scars. And tariffs will not protect national security. They will only undermine economic security. Ladies and gentlemen, Europe is prepared to work with all like-minded partners to create new opportunities and to improve the global system itself. This is why I came to Washington today, not to give unsolicited advice, but to offer increased cooperation. We will always keep dialogue open with this administration and with all our partners in the US. And I strongly believe that instead of being distracted by measures and countermeasures, we should focus on the real issues in global trade, of which there are many. All this shows that Europe will always have its hand outstretched to the United States. We will always look for areas where we can work together on a mutually beneficial basis. But at the same time, we must take our future in our own hands. This means making ourselves more united and more responsible at home. That means defending ourselves with all legal means when we face unfair practices or have unfair measures aimed at us. That means making the most of opportunities with like-minded partners across the world, just as we have done with Japan and Canada, as we are doing with countries in Latin America, Australia, New Zealand, and as we did today at the White House. It means working to improve and shape a global rule-based system so that it continues to deliver the peace, prosperity, and progress it has done for so many decades. Whatever future lies ahead, our partnership with the United States must continue to be a driving force for both sides and for the world. As was reaffirmed by the US Congress just last year on the occasion of our 60th anniversary, the transatlantic partnership is enduring. We have been through thick and thin together, through different administrations and political cycles. Our friendship runs much deeper than that, just like the people of Wils in Luxembourg will tell you. And this today was a good day for the transatlantic partnership, for Europe, and for the United States of America.
The managing director of the International Monetary Fund, Christine Lagarde, said she sees Argentina's economy picking up in year 2019. Lagarde was speaking at a joint news conference with Argentina's Treasury Minister. The International Credit Organization agreed with Argentina a standby loan of $50 million after the country suffered a devaluation crisis that forced its central bank to sell billions of its reserve dollars. Here is more.
But clearly there has been very good progress in terms of fiscal development under the leadership of Minister Diovne. There has been significant progress in terms of monetary policy as well, where clearly the measures that have been taken by the bank have restored and managed a much better situation with less volatility, more transparency. We see the economic recovery picking up in early 2019 and continuing on to 2020. We also see inflation coming down during that period of time. And for the moment, if you were to ask me whether the partnership that we have in place is working, whether it's effective, whether the authorities are on track, my response is unequivocally yes. But it certainly indicates the impact that it would have on GDP, which in the worst case scenario, under current measures and not taking into account most recent announcement, is in the range of 0.5% of GDP on a global basis.
Pakistan's cricket star turned politician Imran Khan declared victory for his party in the country's general election, promising a new Pakistan following a vote that was marred by allegations of fraud and militant violence. Khan, who aspires to become the country's next prime minister, said in a televised address to the nation that he thanks to God, "We won and we were successful." Ahead of any official announcement, his supporters were already celebrating in the streets, dancing and waving flags bearing his image. In his speech to the nation, Khan said corruption was, quote, "eating away this country like a cancer," and called for closer ties with China and India. He also said although the Indian media had presented him quote-unquote as a Bollywood villain, he wanted the two neighboring countries to have a good relationship. That's all the time we have for now, but here's a fun fact about Pakistan. The country's population is currently at about 200 million people, and they come in 6th place with the most populated country after China, India, the US, Indonesia, and Brazil. For News Always On, I'm Kessyl, and I will catch you later.